Hi everyone, welcome to the session of linear IC applications. Myself Vidya from EC Department of Czech Engineering English. And in this session, I am going to give the demo on IC 555. So this is also one of the linear IC. What is meant by IC 555 and what are the applications of IC 555? How the IC 555 can also be used as an stable multivibrator by connecting some external components. So those topics we will discuss in this session. So first, what is meant by IC 555? So this is also one of the IC, linear IC. In most of the industries, operations are scheduled according to specific time requirements. So that is in process industry, raw material is processed in different stages. In each stage, raw material is processed for a particular time period. So, for example, process may be the heating process, and the heat may be required to be applied. For example, say 5 minutes. So there are number of applications where even must be delayed, even must be delayed for specific delay periods. For example, one can snap by setting proper time period in an automatic domains. So to achieve such timing requirements, the timer that is IC555 is popularly used to build timing circuits. So mainly for such applications, we are using the 555 timer. So the 555 timer IC was introduced in the year of 1970 by Signetic Corporation, and it is named as SC or ME 555 timer. So basically, it is a monolithic circuit. So that means all the active and passive components are fabricated on a single silicon chip or silicon wafer and produces accurate and stable time delays or oscillations. So when compared to the 741 IC or linear IC, it is also equally reliable and is cheap in cost also. And next, these are the some applications of IC 555. So it can be used as a monostable multivibrator, a stable multivibrator. It can also be used to generate the waveforms and like square ramp waveforms. And also in analog frequency meters also, we can use IC555 in order to measure the temperature, in order to control the devices, and in voltage regulators, we can use the IC555. So these are the some applications of IC555. And here we have the ranges for SC and NE555 ICs. For the SC555 IC, the temperature range is in between minus 55 degrees centigrade to 125 degrees centigrade. So that means it can be operated in the range of minus 55 degrees centigrade to 125 degrees centigrade. As well as NE555 can also be used in the temperature range of 0 to 70 degrees centigrade. So coming to the pin diagram of IC555, so mainly it is available in 8 pin in a DIP package. So that is dual inline package, and the pin diagram is shown in the figure, and the supply range. So that is DC supply, which we are applying for the IC555 is in the range of plus 5 volts to plus 18 volts. And it is mainly useful for generating the square and ramp signal waveforms. So this figure represents the IC555 pin diagram. So 8 pin dual inline package. So mainly we have the pins as first one ground pin, second pin is trigger input pin, third pin is output pin, fourth pin is reset pin, fifth pin is control voltage, sixth one is threshold voltage, seventh one is discharge pin, eighth one is VCC pin. So that is supply pin, DC supply pin. So here we have the 8 pins, 8 pin IC or 8 pins for the IC2. So first pin is ground pin. So that is all the voltages are measured with respect to this terminal, with respect to the ground terminal. And second one is the trigger terminal. So normally IC555 uses internally two comparators. and voltage divider also. So normally voltage divider consists of three equal resistances. So due to that voltage divider, the voltage of non-inverting terminal of comparator 2 is fixed at VCC by 3. The inverting terminal of comparator 2, which is compared with VCC by 3, is nothing but trigger input. So as pin number 2, when the trigger input is slightly less than VCC by 3, the comparator 2 output goes high. So this output is given to the reset input of RS flip-flop. So this is the internal operation which we will discuss in later slides. So normally the trigger input pin is used to give some trigger signal, trigger input to the IC 555. Normally in monostable multivibrator, this pin is used to give the trigger input pulse. So this pin is the inverting input of comparator and is responsible in order to perform some transition of flip-flop. That means for reset and set purpose of flip-flop. And the negative pulse with DC signal is greater than VCC by 3 is applied to this terminal. So it is a trigger input which we are applying to the IC 555. Normally in monostable multivibrator we are using this pin in order to give the trigger pulse. Next one is third one is output terminal or output pin. So the output pin or the output of the timer is available at this pin. So there are two ways in which load can be connected to the output terminal. So one way is we can connect the load between pin 3 and ground, and another way is we can connect the load between pin 3 and supply pin 8. So mainly output terminal is used to give some output of 555 timer. In order to take some output, we are using this terminal. And fourth one is reset terminal. So whenever the timer IC is to be reset or disabled, so a negative pulse is applied to pin 4, and thus it is named as reset terminal. So whenever the IC is reset or disabled, we can use this pin in order to reset the IC. So that's why this terminal is known as reset terminal. So when this pin is not used, is not connected, then for reset purpose, so it should be connected to plus VCC to avoid the possibility of false triggering. So if you are not if you are not using some reset in order to reset the 555 IC, if you are not using this pin, then we can connect this pin to plus VCC in order to avoid some possibility of false triggering. Next one is pin 5. So that is control voltage terminal. So the threshold and the trigger levels are controlled using this pin. Normally we have the threshold voltage as well as trigger signal, trigger voltage. So in order to control those voltages, we are using this pin. The pulse width of the output waveform is determined by using this pin. And next, the external voltage applied to this pin is also used to modulate the output waveform. So when this pin is not used, it should be bypassed to ground by using some capacitance. So that is 0.01 microfarad capacitance. So in order to avoid the noise problem. So pin 5 is the control voltage terminal. At this pin we can get some control voltage. And whenever if you are not using this terminal, that means pin 5. So simply it should be connected to ground by using some capacitance, 0.01 microfarad capacitance. Next one is pin 6, that is threshold terminal. So this is the non-inverting input terminal of comparator 1. So which compares the voltage applied to the terminal with the reference voltage. Normally we have the internal reference voltage, that is 2 by 3 VCC. So that reference voltage is compared by this threshold voltage. So the amplitude of voltage applied to this terminal is responsible for the set state of flip-flop. In order to set the flip-flop, here we are using this threshold voltage set or reset. So in order to transition purpose of flip-flop, we are using threshold voltage or threshold terminal. Next one is pin 7, that is discharge terminal. So this pin is connected internally to the collector of the transistor. and mostly a capacitor is connected between this terminal and ground. So it is called as discharge terminal because when the transistor saturates, capacitor discharges through this through the transistor. So that's why this type of terminal is known as discharge terminal. So normally it is connected to the collector of the transistor as well as the capacitor discharges by using this pin. So this pin is called discharge pin or discharge pin, and pin 8 is supply terminal. So a supply voltage of plus 5 volts to the plus 80 volts is applied to this terminal with respect to ground. So in order to apply some DC voltage to the IC555, we are using this terminal. So this one is pin 8 terminal of IC555. So those are the 8 pins of IC555. So coming to the functional diagram or internal block diagram of IC555. So mainly we have a voltage divider network, two comparators, one SR flip-flop, two transistors, and one inverter. So normally the block diagram of IC555 consists of voltage divider network, two comparators, one SR flip-flop, two transistors, and one inverter. So this is the internal block diagram of IC555. Here we have a voltage divider network and two comparators. One is upper comparator, another one is lower comparator. One SR flip-flop, two transistors. Normally we have two transistors, but here externally we have one transistor, but internally we have two transistors and one inverter. At the output we have an inverter. So these are the main blocks which we are having in the internal block diagram of IC555. The next first one is voltage divider. So voltage divider means normally IC555 consists of voltage divider. That means which consists of three resistances, three 5 kilo ohm resistors that are connected in series between the supply voltage and ground. So here we have voltage divider network and we have three resistances, so which are 5 kilo ohms each one. So next, these voltage divider is in between plus VCC and ground. That means it is the series combination of 5 kilo ohm resistances which is connected between the supply voltage VCC and ground, and this network provides a voltage of VCC by 3 between a point and ground if there is exists some 5 kilo ohm resistance. Similarly, it provides a voltage of 2 VCC by 3 between a point and ground if there exists two 5 kilo ohm resistors. So that means if you have one 5 kilo ohm resistors, then the voltage divider provides the voltage drop, that is VCC by 3 between this point and ground. If you have two resistances, two 5 kilo ohm resistances, then it will provide 2 by 3 VCC at this point. So that means the voltage which we have VCC at this point, that is equally divided between these three resistances. Then we can get some VCC by 3 at this point, and we can get some 2 by 3 VCC at this point. So that is about voltage divider network. Next one is comparator. So mainly we have two comparators in the functional diagram. First one is upper comparator, second one is lower comparator. So upper comparator and lower comparator, mainly we have two comparators. So what is the operation of comparator? So mainly the comparator compares two input signals which we are applying to that comparator. So if the voltage present at the non-inverting terminal of the op amp or comparator is greater than the voltage present at its inverting terminal, then the output of the comparator will be plus 1, plus V7. So that means we can get some logic 1 high value at the output of the comparator. So if the voltage at the non-inverting terminal of the op amp is greater than the voltage present at the inverting terminal of the op amp, then we can get some plus V7 at the output of the comparator. So that means here, if you observe the figure, we have two terminals. If it is non-inverting terminal, here it is inverting terminal. If the voltage at the non-inverting terminal is greater than the voltage at the inverting terminal, then we can get some high output. That means we can get some logic 1 at the output of the comparator. And next, if the voltage at the inverting terminal of the comparator is greater than the voltage at the non-inverting terminal of the comparator, then we can get some low output at the comparator. So that is, we can get some logic 0. at the output of the comparator. So if the voltage at the inverting terminal is greater than the voltage at the non-inverting terminal, then we can get some low value. That means we can get some logic 0 value. So that is about the comparator. So mainly we have two types of comparators, upper comparator and lower comparator. Next one is SR flip-flop. So if you recall the SR flip-flop, it operates with either positive clock pulse or with either negative clock pulse. It has two inputs, so S and R, and it has two outputs, Q of t and Q bar of t. So the outputs Q of t and Q bar of t are complement to each other. So here we have the truth table for the SR flip-flop. So if the inputs are 0 and 0 for the S and R, we can get the output as 0. The complement of Q is 1. So that is Q bar is 1. So if the inputs for S and R is suppose for example, if you are applying some 0 to S pin and 1 to R pin, so then we can get the output as 0. The complement of Q is Q bar, that is Q bar is 1. If the inputs are 1 and 0, then the output of flip-flop is 1 and the complement is 0. If we have some outputs as 1 and 1, then we can get the output as 0. The complement, so that is, this is the same case here. So this is the truth table for the SR flip-flop. So here we are following this truth table, and next we are using some SR flip-flop internally for the IC triple flip. Next one is transistors and inverter. So normally we have two transistors internally for the 555 timer. One is NPN transistor, that is Q1, another one is PNP transistor, that is Q2. Only one is visible in the following figure in the block diagram, but internally we have two transistors. So the NPN transistor Q1 will be turned on if its base emitter voltage is positive. So that is, if base emitter voltage is positive, then only the transistor Q1 will be on, otherwise that will be in off condition. So for the PNP transistor, that is for the Q2 transistor, that is here we are using PNP transistor. That is the reverse operation performs compared to the NPN transistor, and it is used as a buffer in order to isolate the reset pin as well as the SR flip-flop and NPN transistor. So next one is inverter. Here we are using an inverter in the functional diagram of IC555. So that means it performs some inversion operation. So IC555 not only performs the inverting action but also amplifies the power level. So next one, so that is about the functional diagram of IC555. Mainly we have a voltage divider and two comparators, upper and lower comparators, and next one is flip-flop, SR flip-flop, and next some transistor. We have two transistors and next inverter. So that is about the basic operation of each and every block. Next one is IC555 as an stable multiwave bridge. So that means we can use the IC555 in order to generate some rectangular waveforms. That means it can also be used as an stable multivibrator. So an stable multivibrator can be designed by using or by adding two resistors and one capacitor externally to the 555 IC. So if you are connecting two resistors RA and RB, and next we are connecting some capacitor externally to the 555 IC, then the 555 IC can also be used as an stable multivibrator. So these two resistors and capacitors are selected appropriately so as to obtain the on and off timings at the output terminal. So basically, on and off time at the output is dependent on the values which we are selecting. So that is depending on the values of RA and RB and C. We can get the on and off time of a stable multivibrator or output waveform of a stable multivibrator. So this is the function pin diagram of a stable multivibrator using IC555. So normally we have 8 pins here. So here we are connecting 3 more components externally to the 555. This is normal pin diagram of IC555. So here we are connecting externally. Here we are connecting 3 components externally. So that is RA, RB, and C. So if you are connecting these components in this manner, then this 555 timer can also be used as an stable multivibrator. So depending on depending on the values of these components, we can get the output waveforms, on and off times of output waveforms. So next, so normally we know the block diagram consists of 2 comparators, 1 voltage divider network, 1 SR flip-flop, 2 transistors, and 1 inverter. So the resistor network consists of 3 equal resistors and acts as voltage divider. 3 equal resistors means we are using some 5 kilo ohm resistors each. And notice the resistor network is designed in such a way that the voltage at the inverting terminal of comparator 1 will be 2 by 3 VCC, and the voltage at the non-inverting terminal of the comparator 2 will be 1 by 3 VCC. Already I have said. Here we are applying some VCC voltage to the IC555, and we are using some voltage divider network. Whenever we are applying VCC, that voltage will be divided equally between those 3 resistances. Then we can get some 2 by 3 VCC at one comparator, that is comparator 1, and we can get some 1 by 3 VCC at the another comparator, that is comparator 2. So normally comparator 1 compares the threshold voltage, that is pin 6 voltage, with the reference voltage, that is 2 by 3 VCC, and comparator 2 compares the trigger voltage at pin 2 with reference to the 1 by 3 VCC voltage. So at comparator 1 we have 2 by 3 VCC reference voltage, which is provided by the voltage divider network, and the comparator compares this voltage, the reference voltage, with the threshold voltage, that is pin 6 voltage, that is the voltage at the pin 6. And next, comparator 2 compares the trigger voltage with the reference voltage. That means by the use of voltage divider network, we can get some 1 by 3 VCC volts at the comparator 2, and the comparator compares this reference voltage with the trigger voltage, that is pin 2 voltage. So here this figure represents the internal block diagram of a stable multivibrator. Here we have a voltage divider network. And whenever you are applying VCC to the IC555, this voltage is divided between these 3 resistances, and we can get some 1 by 3 VCC voltage, reference voltage, to the non-inverting terminal of comparator 2. That means at the comparator 2 we have some reference voltage by the use of voltage divider, that is 1 by 3 VCC. And similarly, by the use of voltage divider, we can get some 2 by 3 VCC at the inverting terminal of comparator 1. So the comparator 1 compares this voltage, that is 2 by 3 VCC, with the voltage at pin 6. And similarly, comparator 2 compares the voltage, that is reference voltage 1 by 3 VCC, which is provided by the voltage divider network, with the voltage of pin 2. So that is about the comparator 1, and that is about the comparison process of comparator 1 and 2. And here we are using some RS flip-flop. RS flip-flop output is Q and Q bar, and here we have an inverter. That is the output of the inverter is pin 3, and here we have a transistor which is connected to the external components, which we are connecting to the IC555. So we have 3 components, R1, R2, and C, or RA, RB, and C. So these three components are connected externally to the IC555 timer. This is the internal block diagram of IC555 timer. Already we have seen in the previous slides. So just we are connecting these 3 components. So this circuit acts as an stable multivibrator. So coming to the operation. So initially the flip-flop is in reset mode. So hence the output of the timer is So initially, let us consider the output is the output of the RS flip flop is reset. That means the flip flop is reset and hence the output is low. If the flip flop is reset, then here we have some zero according to the SR truth table. Here we have that is Q is 0 and Q bar is 1. Q is 0 and Q bar is 1. Q bar 1 means here we have an inverter. Here we can get some logic high as the input, that is 1 as the input, and we can get some logic 0 at the output. So initially let us consider the flip flop is in reset mode, then we can get some low voltage at that is Q is low and Q bar is 1. If Q bar is 1, output is low. So this is the initial condition. So here we can get some higher logic 1 signal. So that is at the Q bar we can get some higher voltage. So if Q bar is 1, that means it is as a result the discharge transistor is driven to saturation. That is the capacitor C of the timing circuit is connected at pin 7 of the 555 IC will discharge through the transistor. So the output of the timer at this point is low. So coming to the figure. So whenever the output is low, that means here the flip flop is in reset mode. The output is low. Here we have Q bar as 1. So Q bar as 1 means the transistor will be on. This is connected to the transistor. So if it is 1, that means logic 1, then we can get the transistor is in on condition. Here we are using some ambient transistor. The base emitter junction is high here because we are applying some logic 1 to the transistor input. So that means the transistor is on. So transistor is on means it is obviously connected to the capacitor. So by the connection of transistor, the capacitor C starts to discharge through the resistance R2 to the ground potential. Whenever the transistor is connected to this terminal, the transistor is on, the capacitor starts to discharge to ground potential through the resistance R2. So while discharging, so here the voltage across the capacitor is nothing but the trigger voltage. So while discharging, if the capacitor voltage becomes less than 1/3 VCC, which is reference voltage to the trigger comparator 2, the output of the comparator becomes high. This will set the flip flop and hence the output of the timer pin 3 goes high. So whenever the capacitor discharges, so while discharging, whenever the moment comes, that means whenever the capacitor voltage is less than 1/3 VCC, the capacitor voltage becomes less than 1/3 VCC, then what is the output of the comparator 2? So here by the voltage divider network, we can have some 1/3 VCC voltage at the non-inverting terminal of the comparator 2. While discharging, the capacitor is obviously connected to comparator 2 also. So while discharging, when the capacitor voltage is less than 1/3 VCC voltage. So here we have the voltage of 1/3 VCC. Here the voltage is less than 1/3 VCC because this is connected to the capacitor. Whenever the capacitor voltage less than 1/3 VCC, the voltage at this point is 1/3 VCC. This is the reference voltage and the voltage at this point is less than 1/3 VCC. So on comparison, this voltage is high compared to the voltage at this point. So that means the voltage at the non-inverting terminal is high compared to the inverting terminal voltage, and at the output we can get some positive voltage. So that means we can get some logic 1 at the output of the comparator. So if you are applying logic 1 to the flip flop, so that is it will set the flip flop and the output of the flip flop is 1. The output of the flip flop is 1, that is Q is 1. If Q is 1, Q bar is 0. Q is 1, Q bar is 0. And that is connected to the inverter. If it is 0, the output of the 555 timer is 1, logic 1. So whenever the capacitor discharges, the comparator output will be high and it sets the flip-flop, and the output of the flip-flop is 1 and complement is 0, and obviously the inverter output will be high. So the inverter output will be high. So that is about comparator 2 operation. So whenever we can get some logic 0, then this is obviously connected to the transistor, NPN transistor. So if you get to some logic 0 at this point, the input to the transistor also logic 0. That means the transistor will be in off condition. So when the transistor is in off condition, the path which we are connecting to the capacitor, that will be removed. If the transistor is in off condition, this path will be removed. So that means the capacitor charges towards VCC through the resistances R1 and R2 at this point. When we have some logic 0 as Q bar, then that is obviously connected to the transistor, and because of that logic 0, the transistor will be in off condition and the capacitor is free from the transistor, and the capacitor starts charging towards VCC through the resistances R1 and R2. So here the capacitor charges towards VCC. So while charging, whenever the capacitor voltage crosses 2/3 VCC. This is obviously connected to the non-inverting terminal of comparator 1. So while charging, whenever the capacitor voltage is greater than 2/3 VCC, the point or the voltage at this point is greater than 2/3 VCC. From the voltage divider network, we have a fixed voltage at this point, that is 2/3 VCC. From the voltage divider network, the voltage at this point is 2/3 VCC, and we have some voltage as greater than 2/3 VCC at the non-inverting terminal of comparator 1. So the comparator compares two input signals. So that is, here we have some greater than 2/3 VCC voltage. Here we have some 2/3 VCC voltage. So the voltage at this point is greater than the voltage at the inverting terminal point. So that is, the voltage at the non-inverting terminal is greater than the inverting terminal voltage. So if you have some higher voltage at the non-inverting terminal, then we can get some plus V side at the output of the comparator. So that means we can get some logic 1 at the output of the comparator. That means it resets the flip-flop. Whenever the flip-flop resets, then we can get some logic 0 at the output, and we can get some logic 1 as Q bar. If Q bar is 1, then it is applied to the inverter, output will be 0. So whenever the capacitor charges, the output of the comparator 1 becomes high and it resets the flip-flop, and the output of the flip-flop will be 0, and the Q bar as 1, you can get some Q bar as 1, and output will be 0. And here we have Q bar as 1. Q bar as 1 means obviously this is connected to the transistor. If Q bar is 1, the input to the transistor will be logic 1 and the transistor will be on. The transistor is on means that is connected to the capacitor, obviously. So by the connection of this transistor to the capacitor, again the capacitor capacitor discharges to ground potential by using the resistance R2. Whenever we have some logic 1 at the Q bar point, then this is connected to transistor. The transistor is in on condition, and this is connected to the capacitor through the resistance R2. That means it is connected to this path, and the capacitor discharges towards the ground potential by using the resistance R, and the cycle repeats itself. So again, discharging means whenever while discharging, the capacitor voltage becomes slightly less than 1/3 VCC, Here the comparison takes place. The comparator 2 compares the two input signals. One is 1 by 3 VCC, another one is less than 1 by 3 VCC. And it can have some logic 1 output, and it sets the flip-flop. Again, we have some logic 1 as the output, logic 0 as the output, and the cycle repeats itself. And we have the, so that is, this is the operation which I have already explained. So here we have the output voltages. So that is this is the output waveform, and this is the capacitor wave. So while charging, we have some logic high output. While discharging of the capacitance, we have some logic zero at the output. So here we have the points. So while charging, what is the comparator output? Similarly, uh, what is the flip-flop condition? What is the flip-flop condition? And what is the output? And next, when capacitor is charging, what is the output? So that is output is high. Similarly, capacitor discharging, what is the output? So here we have the output waveforms for both the capacitor, that means at pin 3 and at the capacitor also. So these are the two waveforms which represents the capacitor voltage and output voltage. Whenever the capacitor charges, it charges through the resistances R1 and R2, and the time constant becomes R1 plus R2 into C. Whenever the capacitor discharges, it discharges through the resistance R, and the time constant becomes R2 into C. So next, coming to the duty cycle. So duty cycle is defined as the ratio of on time to the total time of the cycle. That means it is defined as the ratio of time of high output, so that is on time, to the total time of the cycle. So here we have the mathematical expression D is equal to T on by T. In percentage also we can also say that percentage D is equal to T on by T into 100, where T is the total time, T on is the on time. So T is the total time, T on is the on time. Total time is the sum of on time and off time. That is charging time and discharging time. So this is the on time and this is the off time. That is charging time and discharging time. Totally gives the total time period gives the T value, total T value. So in order to find out the duty cycle, we should find out on time and total time. That is on time and off time. So the value of on time, that is charging time, is given by 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C. So here, whenever while charging, the capacitor charges towards VCC through the resistances R1 and R2. So that means the time constant becomes R1 plus R2 into C. So that is the charging time period is equal to 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C. Similarly, the off time, that is equal to discharge time. So discharge time is equal to 0.693 into R2 into C. So while discharging, the capacitor discharges towards the ground potential by using the resistance R2. So that means the time constant become R2 into C, and the discharge time is equal to 0.693 into R2 into C. So therefore the total time period T is equal to T on plus T off. T on is charging time period, T off is discharging time period. So if you substitute these two values, then we can get the total time period as 0.693 into R1 plus 2 into R2 into C. This is the total time period. That is charging time and discharging time. Charging time plus discharging time. So therefore the percentage D is equal to T on by T into 100. So we know the value of on time period, that is 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C, by total time period as 0.693 into R1 plus 2R2 into C into 100. So if you simplify the equation, then percentage D is equal to R1 plus 2R2 by R1 plus 2R2 into 100. So that is, this is the duty cycle in percentage. And next, if T is equal to 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C, then the frequency F is given by, if T is total time period is 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C, then what is the frequency? Frequency is the inverse of time period. That is F is equal to 1 by T. That is 1 by 0.693 into R1 plus 2R2 into C. And finally, we can get the frequency as 1.44 by R1 plus R2, R1 plus 2R2 into C in hertz. So F is equal to, that is the frequency of a stable multivibrator, that is equal to 1.44 into R1 plus R2 R2 into C. So this is about the IC555 and IC555 as an stable multivibrator. So in this session, we have discussed about what is an IC555. Next, how the applications of IC555. And next, what are the temperature ranges of IC555, and what is the pin diagram of IC555? Mainly, it is available in 8-pin dual inline package. What are the pins? What are the functionality of each and every pin? And next, functional diagram of IC555. What are the internal blocks of IC555? Mainly, we have a voltage divider network, 2 comparators, 1 SR flip-flop, 2 transistors, and 1 inverter. So this is the functional block diagram, and each and every block, that means what are the operations, performed by each and every block. There is voltage divider network, mainly consists of 3 resistors, which are 5 kilo ohms each. Because of this voltage divider network, we can have some reference voltages, that is 1/3 VCC and 2/3 VCC at the inputs of upper and lower comparators. And we have 2 comparators, upper and lower comparators. Depending on the inputs, we can get some output as plus VSAT and minus VSAT. If the voltage at the non-inverting terminal is high compared to the inverting terminal voltage, then we can get some plus VSAT, and that is logic 1. And next, if the voltage at the inverting terminal is high compared to the non-inverting terminal voltage, then we can get some minus VSAT at the output of the comparator, that is logic 0. So next, SR flip-flop. Already we know the SR truth table. We have 2 inputs as SR, S and R, set and reset, and we have 2 outputs, so Q and Q bar. This is the truth table of SR flip-flop. Next, we have 2 transistors, Q1 and Q2. Q1 is NPN transistor, Q2 is PNP transistor, and we have an inverter in order to invert the signal. That is also used to amplify the signal as well. Next, a 555 timer as an stable multivibrator. If you connect the 3 terminals RA and RB and C to the IC555 timer in a proper manner, so that means if you select the values appropriately in order to obtain the on and off timings of the output voltage, then the IC555 timer can also act as a stable multivibrator. So here this figure represents the pin diagram of a stable multivibrator. Here we are connecting 3 components externally to the IC555 timer. And next, block diagram of IC555 timer. Up to this one, this figure represents the IC555 timer internal block diagram. Just we are connecting 3 components externally to this IC555. And next, what is the initial stage? At the initial stage, what is the output and what is the condition of transistor? That means depending on the transistor condition, the capacitor charging and discharging depends. So whenever the transistor is on, the capacitor discharges. Whenever the transistor is off, the capacitor charges. The capacitor charges towards the supply voltage VCC by using the resistances R1 and R2. Whenever the transistor is on, the capacitor discharges to the ground potential by using the resistance R2. So depending on the charging and discharging of capacitance, we can get some output, that is logic 1 or logic 0. Whenever the capacitor charges, we can get some logic high value at the output. If the capacitor discharges, we can get some logic 0 at the output of the 555 timer. So this is the operation. So initially we are taking the output is in reset mode, so that is output of flip-flop is 0 and Q bar is 1, output is 0. Q bar 1 means the transistor is on, the transistor on means the capacitor discharges by using the resistance R2 to the ground potential. Whenever the capacitor discharges, if the voltage, if it reaches less than 1/3 VCC, then comparison takes place at comparator 2. Here we have some constant voltage 1 by 3 VCC. The voltage at this point is less than 1 by 3 VCC. Then the output of the comparator becomes high because this voltage, the voltage at this point is more compared to the voltage at this point. So it sets the flip flop, and the output will be high, Q bar will be low, output will be high because the inversion operation takes place. So it will be 1, it will be 0, and it will be again 1. So 0 means the transistor will be off and the capacitor charges towards VCC by using the resistances R1 and R2. So whenever the capacitor charges while charging, when it reaches the point that is greater than 2 by 3 VCC, here we have greater than 2 by 3 VCC, and here we have some constant voltage 2 by 3 VCC. Then the output of the comparator 1 becomes high and it resets the flip flop. It resets the flip flop and the output will be 0, and here we have some logic 1 output and final output will be 0. So if it is 1 means the transistor will be on. The transistor on means the capacitor again discharges towards the ground potential by using the resistor. So the cycle repeats itself. So these are the points which I am explaining. So we have two waveforms. One is capacitor waveform, another one is output waveform. While charging, we have logic 1 output. While discharging, we have some logic 0. So this is the duty cycle of the circuit. Duty cycle means the ratio of on time to the total time. So on time means the charging time of the capacitor. Total time means on time plus off time. On time, that is charging time and discharging time of the capacitor. So here we have the charging time and here we have the discharging time. If you substitute these values, then we can get the total time as T. So T is equal to 0.693 into R1 plus 2 R2 into C. Substitute this value in the duty cycle. That is, we can get the percentage of duty cycle as the equation stated in this figure. And if T is equal to 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C, then finally the frequency F is equal to 1.44 by R1 plus 2 R2 into C in hertz. So that is about 555 timer as an stable modulator.